Hello and welcome to this online course, Query Like a Pro, Top Secret Strategies to Landing a Literary Agent and Book Publisher. Thank you very much for your purchase. Through this course, you will be guided through the entire querying process and learn top secret strategies that have helped dozens of my students and clients acquire top literary agents, and receive major book deals. So if you haven't been on one of my webinars before, I do them a little bit differently than most others. So what I do is I write just about everything I'm going to say on these slides for you. And I do that because I have to go pretty fast in order to cover everything I want to cover. So what you can do is just take screenshots of every single slide as we go. That way you don't have to furiously take notes and scribble the whole time. You can actually listen and absorb what I'm saying and then just go back and review the images you take through the screenshots of your computer. If you have a Mac, it's Command-Shift-3 does it. And I think if you have a Windows, you press print screen and it'll take a screenshot. Just that one little button. You might need to look it up on your computer or phone to figure out exactly how to do it. But I encourage all of you to do that so you can really listen and absorb everything I say. So this is going to be the itinerary as we go along today. We're going to start off with a quick background on agents, publishers, editors, and the publication process. Then we're going to do a step-by-step walkthrough to create an irresistible query letter for agents and publishers. We're going to review some sample query letters that really worked. Then we're going to learn my top secret strategy for querying that you will not learn anywhere else. I can promise you that. And we'll finish off with a little bit about proposal packages, which is kind of my little secret weapon to securing big publishing deals. All right, starting off here, what is the goal of querying? So there's three purposes of a query letter. One, it opens the door to establish a relationship with an agent or publisher. You are requesting permission to legally submit your manuscript, and it creates a paper trail of everywhere that you have submitted. So look at these goals. It's not necessarily here getting that big book deal with the query letter. A real important part is just opening that door because you're going to be in communication all of a sudden with a lot of agents or publishers if you're going straight to publishers. And we'll talk a lot about that soon, what you should do. Because then, this hopefully isn't going to be your only book that you ever submit. If you're a want to be a professional writer, you might have lots of books in you. So just opening the door and establishing this point of contact and relationship and maybe just making a fan of someone is an important part of this process, possibly the most important part. Everything needs a paper trail on this. So when you're legally submitting it, you're going to need that paper trail in order to show just that you had this idea and submitted it to them in case a publisher or someone ends up possibly taking that idea and like getting someone else to write it or something. You might have some kind of legal recourse through this writing or paper trail that you've already sent. Should I submit to agents or publishers? So this is a big question a lot of people always have for me. So these are some guidelines to figure out what is the best course for you. Submitting to agents. Are you a professional writer with an impressive resume? If so, an agent might be the right choice for you. Is your work commercial enough that the big publishers would be interested? So agents are primarily interested in submitting to the big traditional publishers. Those are the ones who are going to give you the big advances, which is how they make the majority of their money, taking 10% to 15% of what you make off your advance and your future royalties. So they are looking for things that are selling. A lot of times they might find a really great book that they feel just doesn't have a strong market or the big publishers wouldn't be interested in, so they might reject it, even though it's fantastic, just because it's not marketable enough to be agented. Do you have a referral? So do you have a friend or anyone you know in your network who has an agent that they like that they can refer to you. If so, that's oftentimes one of the strongest positions to go into when getting an agent, to be sure they're going to review your material and take it seriously. Going directly to publishers. First, you have to check if the publisher that you're submitting to accepts unsolicited queries. Unsolicited means without an agent. Solicited means it's being submitted through an agent. So every publisher, when we're looking them up, says on their submission guidelines whether or not they accept unsolicited queries. So you can only submit to those that accept unsolicited queries. And most of the big publishers only accept solicited queries, but you will oftentimes find imprints within those houses that from time to time accept unsolicited queries, especially when they're looking for a very specific kind of book for their upcoming roster. So it's good to keep checking on that to see if some of the bigger houses are accepting unsolicited if you have trouble getting an agent. Is your book subject more niche? So if you have a more niche subject or genre type of book, that's typically the type that would be best submitting directly to a publisher, because many of the publishers specialize in publishing just those kinds of niche books. So for instance, if you're in the religious genre, where if you have like a Christian book, Jewish book, Muslim books, subject matter, whatever that is, a lot of those, there's very specific religious publishers for those types of books that accept, almost all of them are accepting directly from the authors. And agents aren't really interested in those types of books because the smaller publishers usually do smaller advances that don't make it really worth their time. Other niche subjects could be if it's a really specific kind of science fiction. So a lot of romance novels could be in the more niche categories. So if you have the type of book that doesn't have a huge audience but a very rabid following amongst a smaller audience, your book might be perfect to go straight to those niche publishers. Is there a publisher that exclusively publishes your type of book? Yeah, we just talked about this. Religious subject matter, erotica, popular one now, academic, industrial, or scientific types of books, foreign language studies, hardcore science fiction, cookbooks, books specializing specifically for types of people with disabilities. There's a whole genre of publishers who just publish books for dyslexic people that have a different type of font, Braille books, those kind of things. Maybe we do both, though. Sometimes people who like to hook a publisher first and then use that leverage to call agents and say they have an offer in hand from the publisher and they just need them to come on board to close the deal. So that's a really cool way to get an agent, because an agent will usually come on board if it's a real easy moneymaker for them. They don't even have to submit. You already have a book offer in place and they just have to close the deal and take 10%. Sure, they'll do that. But the cons of that strategy could be that giving away 10 to 15% to an agent who may not be enthusiastic about you or your writing to rep future deals. More likely, you might get rejected by the publishers at first, and then the agents will therefore be less interested in you because you've already cut off those options for them. So that's a very risky strategy to take, and one I don't usually recommend.